Sonic Rush is a game that's for the most part really fun, but has a few issues that prevent it from being the best game it can be. Sonic Rush's story centers around two parallel dimensions colliding together, as Sonic and heroine from another dimension, Blazy both have to race against time to save their worlds from certain doom, thanks to Dr. Eggman and his counterpart from the other dimension, Eggman Egger, who are both working together to conquer the two colliding worlds by securing both the 7 Chaos Emeralds of Sonic's world and the 7 Soul Emeralds of Blazy's world. Sonic and Blaze both go on their separate world-saving adventures, with Sonic going after the new Eggman to stop him from getting the 7 Chaos Emeralds, while Blaze chases down the regular Eggman who's stolen the 7 Soul Emeralds of her dimension. While both heroes' journeys intertwine, they never work together for the majority of the game, as Blaze feels it's solely her responsibility to reclaim the 7 Soul Emeralds and save both worlds. Sonic Rush is a 2D platformer for the Nintendo DS that focuses on high-speed action across the DS's dual screens. The game was released in late 2005 and was developed by Dimps, the same folk behind the majority of handheld Sonic games, including the 3DS versions of Lost World and Generations, which I've previously made video reviews on before. In Sonic Rush, you'll play as both Sonic and newcomer Blazy in their respective playthroughs as you blast your way through the game's levels at blistering speed, while also fighting bosses every once in a while. For the most part, Sonic and Blaze control largely the same as one another, with both characters sharing Sonic's moveset from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, as well as them both being able to thrust themselves upwards and forwards in midair when launched from a spring and whatnot. Though they do have their differences, Sonic runs marginally faster than Blaze, while Blaze can reach greater heights than Sonic in midair, and Sonic has an air dash ability that acts like his homemade attack from the 3D games, although not as reliable, while Blaze can hover momentarily in midair, which can make platforming sections much easier. Though aside from all those moves, the biggest addition to Sonic Rush would have to be the introduction of boosting. Boosting is a mechanic that allows both Sonic and Blaze to continuously run at extremely fast speeds throughout the game's main levels. By holding down on the boost while running, Sonic and Blaze will instantly take off and run like a projectile, destroying almost every enemy in their path. And it's quite a spectacle seeing them rush across the 2DS screens at such high speeds. You do have a boost gauge that indicates how much boosting you can do at any given moment, but it can quickly be filled back up by defeating enemies and repeatedly performing tricks in midair when launched from a spring or whatnot, as well as while grinding on the occasional rail. Sonic Rush follows a similar structure to the classic Mega Drive games, with 7 zones that contain 2 acts each, as well as a boss act to cap things off. Sonic and Blaze both go through the same 7 zones, with the only major difference being the zone order. Sonic goes through the zones in the order of which they are meant to be played in, while Blaze's zone order is shuffled, resulting in some difficulty spikes, since the zone difficulty for Blaze's playthrough hasn't been optimised to accommodate for the change in zone order, though it isn't too bad if you've already played through the game as Sonic. In Sonic Rush's levels, you'll be boosting like there's no tomorrow as you make your way from point A to point B in every stage, while occasionally slowing down to defeat a load of enemies in closed off areas, jump across some suspended platforms in midair, and deal with level specific gimmicks and obstacles. Constantly boosting through levels in Sonic Rush while trying to keep up the pace for as long as possible without stopping is honestly really fun and quite exhilarating, though the moments where you'll have to slow down to destroy a certain number of enemies in enclosed areas and whatnot aren't fun. They just bog down the pacing of the levels, and it's a joy kill when at one second you're boosting at the speed of sound throughout the stage, and then the other second you're at a halt, doing some menial task that just isn't fun. Another problem with the levels is that they go way too overboard on bottomless pits. Just about every level has them, and it can get really annoying when you find yourself repeatedly falling down them over and over again, especially if you're a newcomer and don't know what to expect. And not only that, but some of the sections where you'll have to deal with finicky level gimmicks, and most of the moments where you'll have to jump across platforms suspended in midair take place over bottomless pits, which really turns them into cheap do or die situations. All in all, the levels are really fun to constantly boost through, but suffer from pacing issues when things slow down, as well as go a bit too overboard when it comes to bottomless pits. Now, on to the boss fights. After beating both acts of a zone, you'll unlock that zone's boss fight, where you'll face off with Dr. Eggman or Eggman Egger in one of their mechs. Unlike the regular stages, the boss fights are fully 3D in terms of graphics, and they look really cool, but the fights themselves are underwhelming, as for the most part, they all boil down to playing a waiting game as you dodge the boss's cycle of attacks and strike when they expose their weak spots, which gets boring real quickly. And also, a few of the bosses have insta-kill attacks, which which they'll throw in with the cycle of regular attacks. Heck, even the very first boss in the game has 2 insta-kill attacks. You also can't boost in any of these boss fights, but hey, at least you got Tails or Cream the Rabbit cheering you on the bottom screen. One thing that Sonic Rush gets absolutely right on the nugget is the way special stages are handled. Though only Sonic goes through the special stages to get the 7 Chaos Emeralds, as Blaze gets her Soul Emeralds back from Eggman after each boss fight. To enter a special stage, you'll need to find special generators in the regular levels as Sonic, with each level having multiple of them, similar to the giant rings of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, though you'll usually come across these generators while playing through the levels as normal. Once you locate one of these special generators, just jump towards it for Sonic to grab hold of, and boost for a couple of seconds to make Sonic activate the generator and get shot into a portal, taking him straight to one of the 7 special stages. The special stages themselves seem very similar to those of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at first, with Sonic running along a half-pipe structure while having to collect certain amounts of rings to pass checkpoints while avoiding spiked bombs. However, in Sonic Rush's special stages, you control Sonic entirely with the DS's bottom touchscreen. Sonic will instantly run to whichever area you tap on the bottom touchscreen, and he'll also attack any oncoming enemies on screen that you tap on. As well as that, you can also swipe Sonic up the sides of the half-pipes to launch him up in midair, and you can also get Sonic to hit these balloons, which make you do some math on the bottom touchscreen to score some extra rings. This control scheme gives you the most intuitive control ever over Sonic in any special stage, and makes Sonic Rush's special stages pretty easy and not much of a hassle, with the exception of the last special stage. Anyway, once you manage to pass both checkpoints in a special stage with the right amount of rings without losing them all to hazards, you'll score a Chaos Emerald. Though getting all 7 of the emeralds doesn't grant you the use of Super Sonic in regular stages, and obtaining them all is essential for unlocking the game's true final boss, which is a real bummer. Aside from the main game, Sonic Rush features a 2-player battle mode where you can race a friend in any regular stage you've beaten in single player, and only 1 copy of the game is required, thanks to a wonderful thing called DS Download Play. There's also a time attack mode where you can replay any level or boss fight, with the game keeping a record of your times, so that you can keep replaying them to try and get better times. Though you'll need to finish the game as either Sonic or Blaze first to unlock it. And apart from keeping track of your times, the levels play the exact same as they do in normal single player, though there are a few exclusive time attack levels, which are very similar to the competition levels of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, with them all being very short 5-lap stages that loop around. In terms of the game's presentation, Sonic Rush is a great looking game full of Nintendo DS, with a pretty slick style, vibrant visuals, detailed level backdrops, and some awesome looking boss fights. It might not look like much looking from the footage, but trust me, it looks much better when being played on an actual DS. The game's sound effects are just fine, and the soundtrack is some really stellar stuff, containing tons of funky, electronic hip-hop goodness, composed and arranged by Hideki Naganuma, who previously worked on the soundtrack of Jet Set Radio before working on Sonic Rush. In conclusion, Sonic Rush for Nintendo DS is a really good game that's a little rough around the edges. While blasting through the game's levels at the speed of sound is an absolute joy, its few level issues and underwhelming boss fights stop it from reaching its full potential, but it's still a very fun game nonetheless, and the boosting mechanic that the game introduces would go on to be a staple of the main console Sonic games a few years later, starting with my favourite game of all time, Sonic Unleashed. If I were to recommend Sonic Rush to anybody, I'd recommend it to other Sonic fans, especially those who enjoy some of the more recent modern titles, as well as people who may not be Sonic fans but are already well acquainted with 2D platformers, though I wouldn't so much recommend it as someone's first Sonic game to those who are mostly beginners or casuals to the 2D platformer genre.